Holy smokes. The Federal Reserve just got rug pulled by Donald Trump, likely by Donald Trump. Don't sue me, bro. We've got to talk about it. It's a big deal, in addition to obviously markets selling off today. Now, I personally was not expecting a market sell off today. In fact, on the Alpha report this morning, I said that I was leaning slightly bearish, at least until we get CPI, mostly because of the reaction we saw to Netflix yesterday, which Netflix would have beat had it not been for a Brazilian money export tax fee that they had to pay for basically the last 3.5 years in retrospect, or like, after the fact. So now if you didn't have that charge, Netflix would have actually beat. And the fact that you've got multiple Wall Street banks downgrading Netflix after that is, who knows, maybe an opportunity to buy it. But frankly, an example that institutional investors are like, nah, man, take profits. Everything's too high. Everything's too high. And they're looking for every reason to sell. And that's sort of what drove me to be like, all right, well, that could be a little bit of a slightly bearish omen so far. That obviously comes in addition to Trump's tariff software release this morning, which we'll talk about. But I will say, I'm surprised to see the Qs now off 1.8%. It's probably because of the China news, which I'll touch on as well, which came out a little bit more suddenly. But I really want to talk about Powell, and briefly, I want to shout out the trade I talked about this morning. In our course member live stream this morning, I'm like, guys, once Beyond Meat, which we mentioned back when it was a $60 million market cap company, penny stock, like 50-cent stock, we're like, oh man, this has meme potential. Freaking thing skyrockets to like $7. This morning in the course member live stream, the Me Kevin membership, you get lifetime access to. I'm like, guys, it's on the homepage of CNBC. You know what that means, right? Like, $6 to $8 is probably the top for the sucker. It's at $7. It's on the homepage of CNBC. I'm getting Market Watch notifications on it. It's probably at the top. And even if it's not at the top, everybody's going to leave Open Door and flock to it. But be careful, because it's probably at the top. That was it in our Alpha report this morning. And dude, the thing tanks at the open. Absolutely tanks. The thing was up at like $7. Now it's down at $3.90 as we're recording this. And Open Door sells off 8%. And you've still got another 8.7% sell off on MP Material. Now, all of those are momentum examples. And so you have to remember that. Yes, there is a fundamental argument for MP Material, but it is a 5-year argument. Somebody in the course member live stream this morning, they use coupon code Schumer Siesta and they join. They got their lifetime access before the price goes up. They're like, Kevin, well, when do I fundamentally buy MP Material? I go, when all the traders are gone. When all the short-termers, because Trump took an equity stake, are gone, and people are trading MP Material on its fundamentals, which are basically nothing. They only just stopped exporting their minerals to China to gain revenues. So now they lost all of their sources of revenue. Now, of course, they made a deal with Apple and they're getting pre-commitment revenues, but those aren't actual revenues yet. They're going to be pre-earned revenues. So you basically have this liability of deferred revenues. You don't actually have revenues yet because you can't fulfill the service yet. Anyway, you got to get the traders out. That's the whole point of that. But anyway, what the heck with the Powell rug this morning? Dude, listen to this. Nick T had a whole piece this morning. He's like, hey, remember at the end of August how Mr. Waller over at the Federal Reserve is like, yeah, don't worry, guys. We have a lot of data. Nobody has, I don't know why he sounds like Trump now. We have a lot of data, and nobody has more data than we do. In fact, we use this private release of weekly employment data. And I remember making a video. I'm like, damn, dude, I wish we had that. We only get the ADP data report once a month. The Fed gets it once a week. Damn, bro, that's nice, man. I wish I had that kind of data. That's not really fair, but all right, you guys got the data. Maybe that's why you're pivoting to become dovish. Maybe that's why the 10-year Treasury yield is falling and why mortgage rates are going down, because you don't pivot and dovish. Okay, guess what happened? Apparently, this is my guess, the Trump administration heard about it. And when they heard about it, they're like, oh, hell nah. We shut down the government to keep this jobs data away from the Fed. ADP's giving the data to the Fed on a weekly basis. Oh, hell no. And all of a sudden, poof, the ADP is no longer reporting weekly jobs data to the Fed. We're not talking about weekly claims data. We're talking about that private weekly data that nobody got with the Fed. Poof, gone. And so people are like, oh, is it a mistake? Jerome Powell, come on over here, Jack. Jerome Powell hits up ADP. They're like, yo, well, the government shut down, especially, pretty please, could we pretty please have that weekly ADP data back. And ADP's like, nah, bro, we ain't doing that anymore. And so that's leading a lot of people to go, well, why? Why wouldn't they do that? Folks, it's obvious. The whole private sector is rigged right now to get on the knees. You got to get on the knees and you got to do your business for Donnie T. Because guess what happens if all of a sudden, some company like Pfizer, whom Donald Trump is doing everything to rub elbows with right now. How many employees does Pfizer have? Well, I don't know. We could do a quick Google on it. Pfizer has 81,000 employees. Guess what payroll processor they have? ADP. Guess what happens if ADP or Pfizer goes, we like Trump so much, we're going to go to a different payroll processor. Dude, ADP starts losing lots of money. So, not saying definitely that's what's happening, but it's likely that's what's going on. Donald Trump wants the Fed rugged because he doesn't want the actual bad data out. And it should be scary for you. Now, it's weird because before this market started selling off, I actually sent a buy and sell alert to my course members this morning. And again, this is not only where I issue sell alerts on my top or buy alerts on my top 10 stocks to buy for the next 10 years, but I also issue some when if there's like cash raise or a cash raise that I'm doing or whatever. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm selling for whatever reason. And this morning I sold two particular stocks and sold net a lot more, like 20x more of a sell than I bought of our number 7 top 10 stock to buy over the next 10 years, which we just announced today. Dad, so it's kind of exciting. What's up, buddy?
Did you tell me what a solar eclipse is?
No sun. So anyway, this ADP rug pull is kind of crazy. What's wild though is in addition to this ADP rug pull, in addition to this what's it called? This Chinese software export rules regulation, where basically Reuters is leaking that we now have information on what the export controls are going to look like, and people are like, why is this happening? It's leverage. It's people trying to get leverage for negotiating with Xi Jinping, which Donald Trump thinks he's going to get a great trade deal. I don't know that he actually will. Did I finish saying what I was going to say? Anyway, join the Me Kevin membership and you can get all those alerts too. I think that's all I wanted to say. And then Jack popped, spawned in. But anyway, the other thing that was wild this morning was, and this was sort of a small note, but there's literally a company called Athleon Capital Partners who had a, quote, unusually concentrated position in loans of First Brands. And they used an AI-driven platform, AKA ChatGPT, like LLMs, to identify risks. And what they identified was, yeah, we're going to buy more First Brands loans. And they had an unusually high position of 1.29%, which is still relatively small, but I guess amongst CLOs was the highest position in First Brands. And they were bragging about how they use LLMs. Crazy. So there's that. And then obviously, the China news is probably just what has people nervous this week. Of course, because remember, that's our big catalyst coming up. We've been talking about that. Coming up to October 31st to November 1st. Probably going to be seeing some clown catalysts too. But that's when we're going to be getting, hey, are we going to get a deal with China? So far, my guess is no. On top of the Fed rug, man, I don't know what's going on, man. But I'll tell you, dude, the Alpha Report freaking killed it this morning. Bearish on Beyond Meat, it tanks. Bearish on Open, it tanks. Buy, sell alert with like a 20x sell compared to buy this morning. And then all of a sudden the market walks off a cliff and MP sells off another 8%. And CoreWeave, which I went bearish on when it lost 137, also falls off a cliff by 7%. Bro, all of those are in the Alpha Report.